Good evening. Welcome to the November 25th City Council meeting. Please rise to salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Agenzio.
Here.
Here. Councilor Janino.
Here.
Here. Councilor Guarino-Sawaya. Here. Here. Councilor Haas.
Here.
Here. Councilor Jaramillo.
Here.
Here. Councilor Kelly.
Here.
Here. Councilor McKenna.
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky.
Here.
Here. Councilor Silvestri.
Here.
Here. Councilor Zambuto.
Here.
Here. And Council President Cogliandro.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. Approval of the Journal of the regular meeting of November 4th.
So move.
Councilor Agenzio.
Thank you. I'd just like to take a minute. The U12 Revere Youth Cheerleading Squad is heading to Florida next week to compete on a national level, and I just want to tell them and ask them and have a good time and the best of luck to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I just want to send out a congratulations and really a great effort to both the leadership here at City Hall, the mayor's office, the superintendent, the school committee, and the teachers union. We've seen what happened in many communities. A lot of kids really suffered for teachers going on strike. We allowed adults to keep cooler heads, and we came to an agreement, and I just want to say congratulations.
Thank you, Councilor. Back to the regular order of business.
Calendar item number 3, motion presented by Council President Cogliandro that the City Council award certificates of appreciation to Brad Ouellette, Travis Gambardella, Mike Penta, and Matt Mahoney for their work at Revere Boxing Outreach.
If any of the other members of Revere Boxing would like to join their coaches or some of their coaches, please feel free to do so. Councilors, can you...
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to address everyone here. My name is Travis Gambardella. I graduated from Revere High School, class of 07. I've resident of Revere my whole life. I grew up here. I went off and did things as we all do in life, and we travel and get experience, and came back home. And I just want to say I couldn't be more thankful to be a part of this program. Joe Singer is an angel among us. Everything he does, we all wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Joe. We have all these things happening, and we get a chance to get in the spotlight, and we get thanks, and we get all appreciation from everyone. I just wanted to voice myself. I just wanted to, say thank you to everyone. Everyone's been so helpful, and all hands on deck. Thank you, guys.
Councilors, can we give them a little bit more room? Pictures will be afterwards. Yeah. My goodness. So would anyone else like to say anything before I get started? I'm not going to say anything that nice, though. So. Absolutely, Coach.
First off, Joe, thanks for involving me in this. Literally, the text changed my life. Taryn, I couldn't be more proud of all the work we're doing. The recognition is great, but we are just getting started. I mean, you have no idea. We're barely scratching the surface. I'm honored to be a part of it, and I'm proud to be standing next to these women and men. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, well, I don't know how I'm going to follow that. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. A couple years ago, I had some of you up here. I think it was Greg Vendetti, Tyler D'Angelo, April Feeney, and of course, Coach Joe Singer. And the fact that we're doing this again is a true testament to this program because we are expanding, we are growing, and I, as a martial artist myself, am so proud of this program. I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for doing what you do. It is incredibly amazing to give back through boxing, through combat sports is huge for children, and they learn so much more than just how to punch things, and I can't stress that enough. So I'm going to get right into it. These are certificates of appreciation, an acknowledgement and recognition of your hard work and dedication you bring to the Revere Boxing Outreach Program through your commitment to teaching, mentoring, and guiding young athletes, which goes far beyond the ring by instilling discipline, confidence, and a sense of community that will stay with these youth for life. Special recognition is hereby given to Brad Ouellette. Special recognition is hereby given to Travis Gambardella. Special recognition is hereby given to Matthew Mahoney. And last but not least, special recognition is hereby given to Mike Penta. Now, if you guys wouldn't mind getting together, counselors, come on up and take a nice photo, and thank you very much.
Rule 34, public comment pursuant to Chapter 402 of the Acts of 1965.
So this is the first meeting where we're going to have a public comment section. So if there is anyone who wants to speak on anything that's on the agenda, now is your time to do so. Also keep in mind, you will also have the opportunity to speak during public hearings. So you will have two opportunities. So if there's anyone who wishes to speak on any agenda item right now, please come on up. Anything but the public hearings. And just a reminder, this will be the only time we're accepting public comment. You won't have an opportunity to come up for every motion or every item other than public hearings. Is there anyone here for public comments? Seeing and hearing none, we will move forward past the public comment section. Name and address for the record, please, and it must be something pertaining to the... Which agenda item are you speaking on?
That's what I want to ask. I want to ask something other than the public hearing, but city civics.
Is it on the agenda this evening?
Not tonight.
Then we'll
When
have
do
to
you wanna
wait until
put it
it's on
the
there.
agenda?
Then we'll have to wait until it's on the agenda, sir. You have to speak
Well, who's
on...
going to put it on the agenda for me?
That is a great question that I don't have an answer to.
Well, what do these people do here?
Okay, have a seat, sir. Thank you.
Next up is public hearings. Calendar item number 4, hearing called is ordered for the purpose of establishing the minimum residential factor and setting the tax rate for FY25.
Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Dana Brancher-Forty, Chairman of the Revere Board of Assessors, 281 Broadway. We're here tonight as a board. I'm here with board members John Varengia and Matthew McGrath. Also, it's Matthew's birthday today. We're here to recommend that the council adopt the minimal residential factor as presented at .879287. Doing so will allow us to create a split tax rate and shift the burden from the residential taxpayer to the commercial tax rate.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other proponents? Anyone in favor? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close that side. Are there any opponents? Anybody not in favor? Seeing and hearing none, I will close that side. Any city councilors wishing to speak? Seeing and hearing none, Madam Clerk, let's take the roll.
Shall the city council adopt a minimum residential factor of .879287 for the purpose of setting the tax rate for fiscal year '25? Councilor Argenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino-Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Cogliandro?
Yes.
Yes, the minimum residential factor has been established. Calendar item number 5, hearing called is ordered on a request of 101 Walnut Street LLC, Robert Mahoney, to consider a proposed land swap of a parcel on Austin Street for 35 Morris Street. Please note that the petitioner has filed a letter with the City Council to withdraw this request.
This is withdrawn. Let's...
Calendar item number 6, hearing called is ordered on the application of Judith Palomino, 942 Winthrop Ave, requesting a special permit from the City Council to enable the appellant to convert a non-conforming mixed-use structure comprised of 2 residential units and 1 commercial unit to a 3-family residential structure at 942 Winthrop Ave.
This is a public hearing. We will open it to proponents. Anyone in favor?
We just wanted to let you know that the city will be provided and interpreted for Mrs. Palomino this evening.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We please state our name and address for the record?
Sure. Judy Palomino, 942 Winthrop Avenue, and Rivier, of course.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So he's up here as a proponent for this project. Does he want to tell us why?
Sorry, I'm just interpreting.
Oh, okay. Well, could you interpret to her, give her a brief synopsis of what's going on?
Sí, soy proponente porque quiere hacer este proyecto, porque quiere hacer el cambio.
Good question. The reason is because, you know why, that's, como le digo, La razón es porque lo que pasa es que yo lo compré en el 2001, mi esposo falleció y la única entrada que yo tengo, soy single mother, entonces ahorita tengo esa manera que me puedo ayudar. Y siempre estoy pagando mis taxes como 3 familias y creo que necesito consideración.
So she's here because she purchased this property in 2001 in its current state, which is 2 residential units and 1 commercial. She's been paying taxes on it as a 3-family residence, although only able to use 2 residential units. So she's here to apply to convert that 3rd unit, currently commercial, into a residential unit, resulting in a 3-family home.
Thank you very much. Are there any other proponents? Anyone else wishing to speak? You guys can ask. If there's any questions from councilors, just be ready, okay? Seeing and hearing no other proponents, I'll close that side. Any opponents, people not in favor? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close that side. Councilors, Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to know if they're going to do any construction work to go up, or they're just going to use that store that used to be a store as an apartment. So are you going to fix up the store to be an apartment, so it will be considered a 3-family?
Sorry, so she plans on fixing up the store to use as a residential unit, so it will result as a 3-family, no more commercial space, but 3 residential units.
So are we going to have construction going up, or are we just going to use that store to be the 3rd residential apartment?
Pero va a usar ese espacio donde está la tienda como esa tercera unidad, ¿correcto? No va a Nope, just converting the store into a 3rd residential unit.
Any other councilors? Seeing and hearing none, this is going to be referred to zoning on December 9th.
Calendar item number 7, hearing called as ordered on the application of Daniel Sika and Andrew Sika, Sika Family Realty Trust, 21 Green Street, Revere, Mass., requesting a planned unit development special permit to enable the appellant to construct an apartment building consisting of 29 one-bedroom units within the TED district at 21 Green Street.
This is a public hearing. We'll open it up to proponents. Anyone in favor? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Revere City Council. My name is Attorney Larry Simeone. I have law office in 300 Broadway, Revere, Massachusetts, unit number 4. I stand before you tonight representing the Sika Family Trust. Specifically, I represent Andrew Sika, trustee, Daniel Sika, trustee, and the Sika Family Realty Trust, as well as 21 Green Street Realty Trust. So I have 2 consultants here tonight, Mr. President, and so I'm going to make my explanation of this matter very short, okay, so I can get benefit of the council to talk to the people that are actually making the things happen. I'm not very good at making it short, but I'll do the best I can, sir. So the program, we're dealing with a piece of property, and the property is 21 Green Street, and it consists of lot part A2, which is 2,875 square feet, approximately 1.66 acres. The other lot that consists of this property that's being used for the development is Lot Y. It's 4,960 square feet, approximately 0.11 acres. The property combined is 7,996 square feet. The property was a single-family home, which has been raised by the owners. The property is located in the TED district, Technological Enterprise District, with a height of 50 feet and a minimum lot size of 25 feet. So the project, the applicant seeks a special permit for a PUD, planned unit development, to construct 29 one-bedroom apartments, approximately 500 to 600 square feet. In concert with the applicant's request for the special permit, the applicant also did a shadow study, which was submitted to the membership. The project height has been agreed to, working with the ward council, and that will be 46 feet. Again, working with Board Councilor McKenna, the frontage of the building will be located on Lee Burbank Highway. And discussions have been talked about, and I think we might be a little closer today after speaking with Ms. McKenna, that in fact, there'll be 3 veteran units established for this housing project. So at this point, Mr. President and members of the council, I'd like to start by having you talk to the architect, Stefanov's Associates. He'll go through that very quickly, and then I have Peter Blaisdell of Williamson Spargus to answer any of your questions relative to the project. After that, Mr. President, I respectfully request that you move this matter to the zoning subcommittee.
Thank you. Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
That's okay. Good evening, Mr. President, City Council members. My name is Doug Stefanov, architect, business address of 423 West Broadway, South Boston. Thank you for your time tonight. I am working with the group here. We propose a 5-story, 29-unit residential building between Lee Burbank Highway and Green Street. It would be 5 units on the first and 6 on each floor thereafter. As the areas have been stated, they're all 1-bedroom units. There's no planned occupancy for the roof. The roof is purely mechanical. There's no roof deck or anything of that nature. There's no basement. Some of the first floor would have some utilities into it, which Peter can speak of later, transformer, trash room, and other components. It's 2 staircases within the building, so it's fairly simple building. Forgive my small drawings. Brick base, probably a clapboard upper to kind of be more of a residential vernacular, if you will. Windows to take in as much light for the bedrooms, excuse me. Areas, as we've stated, 400, some, well, 450, 500, 600, they vary a little bit. We have done sun studies of the building in the primary seasons. Of course, summertime's the best, right? So the building front faces north, so south is to the back of the building. So the shadows are cast primarily, or for the majority of the time, on Lee Burbank Highway, which is a perfect scenario to provide, well, not to impede any of the neighbors. So that's, you have the summertime's relatively small. This is, excuse me, upside down. Fall and spring, of course, being the same. Starting at the top, we've got morning, afternoon, and evening. As you can see, it rides from left to right. And then, of course, wintertime is never great, as we know, but it's cast again onto the highway. Therefore, after, 3 or 4 o'clock on a winter evening like tonight, it's always kind of dark, so can't. The site plan you see shows the site, building located on the site. There's 3-foot setbacks on each side, pretty much front and back located on the property lines. And it's a combination of steel up to the 2nd floor deck and wood frame construction thereafter. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Is there any other proponents, people in favor of the project? Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. President. Peter Blaisdell, Williamson Spargus, 189 North Main Street, Middleton, Massachusetts, project engineer. So as everyone knows, there was an existing structure here that's going to be replaced with this new structure. There are no wetlands or any buffer zones within 100 feet of it. There's no flood zone. All of the municipal connections will be on Green Street. We have been through site plan review already. One of the things that we wanted to do was to try to take away a little bit of impervious area that's there now, because the site was essentially all impervious before. We did talk to Frank Stringy about possibly removing some of the pavement in the private way, adding some landscaping and some trees just to make it look a little more appealing for Green Street. Despite that, as Attorney Simeone had mentioned, the height is 46 feet. We're hoping to remove the impervious area by a couple hundred square feet and surround the building with some crushed stone just to try to keep our runoff on our site, which then makes it a redevelopment project. Beyond that, I think everything that Attorney Simeone and Architect Doug Stefanoff have already gone through is pretty much there for you to see. If you have any questions, be more than happy.
Thank you very much, sir. Are there any other proponents, people in favor? Seeing and hearing none, close that side. Are there any opponents, people not in favor? Are you a proponent? So you're a proponent? Okay. Name and address for the record, sir.
Amilcar Ruiz, 18 Hayes Avenue, Rivier, Massachusetts. I just want to add that I know the Sika family for over 15 years. I have rented from them. Friends and families have rented from them. They are great landlords. And now that they have this special project in that location where previously a house that was there was completely a mess, and knowing that they bring in something better for that street, whether it's Lee Burbank Highway or Green Street, it will be a lot better for the city of Revere, and I'm here to support them with that project.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Andrew Iovano, 14 Joseph Road, Revere. I am a proponent for this project. I think it's a good project. I think it's a kind of development that Revere should have. These are one-bedroom units, which means that they will have very little, if any, impact on the schools. And therefore, we all know that in building the new Revere High School, that should be a concern of all of us. Secondly, this is a project that's on Lee Burbank Highway, which is a state highway. And I think that that's a good thing for the area. And again, I wanted to say I'm a proponent.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Jason Kearney, 333 Lee Burbank Highway. I just want to say the Seek is very good. I'm one of their tenants now. I'm in a two-bedroom, and I'm a single. I don't need two bedrooms. I can't find anything that's close to Beachmont with one bedroom. I think the city needs some more one bedrooms, and it's good for me because I commute, through the T, through public transportation. So I think this is good for me and good for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councilmen and Councilwomen. My name is Donald Goodwin. I live at 6 Lloyd Road in North Reading, Mass. I'm here as a proponent for Mr. Sika. During my 30 years of service with the city of Revere, I've had many opportunities to work in conjunction with Mr. Sika on various projects. As you know, my forte was mostly in the infrastructure improvements to the city of Revere, and right through his property goes the main sewer line that probably services 30 to 33% of the population of the city based on what's being built on Ocean Avenue in the area. I have always known John to be willing to work with anybody or to make things happen. We had a horrific collapse in that pipeline. We needed to get access to that pipeline that runs right through his property and set up equipment that not only took the easement, but took other pieces of property. Without no lawyers, if it's good for the city, just get it done. We got it done. We put jack piping equipment in there for months on end. And with disturbance to his property, not a single complaint from him. Same thing happened with the culvert that runs through. The bulkhead had to be replaced. The culvert had to be refinished. We've had the shopping center that we put in a Stop and Shop. We had to put the force main through his property coming down American Legion Highway. I know John. He takes pride in everything he does, and he will be an outstanding landlord. I think, people that know the area and know that new district that was developed by members of this council, some of you are new, but some of you were part of that council. This redistricting, rezoning is specifically for projects like this. And based on what my knowledge is of what is going to be coming down the road to pay for high schools, it's no impact on schools, brings in the tax base. I don't see any downside to this property. And I'm sure if any of you have any questions regarding this property, John would be more than happy to sit down with you and work things out, as I know he probably has with some of you already. That's all I guess. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Again, I'm going to close the proponents. Now we will hear opponents. Anyone not in favor? Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Mackel, and I live at 18 Green Street, which is basically across the street from the property. So I'm here to touch upon 3 different points, specifically why I'm against it. In no respect to the people who just spoke, only one of them live in that area. Only one of them live on Green Street. So number 1 is the height. Number 2 is the context. And number 3 is the traffic. So I'll talk on height number 1. Look, let's be honest. We know something's going to go in there, all right? This isn't about I want nothing. But 5 stories is just way too big for that site. The site itself is like the size, it's just a little bit bigger than the infield of a Little League field, all right? I mean, they won't go up to 5 stories, 46 feet. So I live across the street, I'm a resident, but I'm also a registered architect. And I highly doubt that they can get 5 full stories under 46 feet, especially if there's steel involved. I don't see that being feasible. So with that said, I'm suspect of 5 stories. And I'm afraid if 5 gets approved, and then engineers start sharpening their pencils, it could creep up in, who would know, so to speak. So that's the height. And I'd sent you guys an email. They talked about the shadow study. That's a bit deceiving, all right? I took a picture driving down Green Street, and you can see, I made an outline. I don't know if Ashley can pull it up. There's an outline of the building, approximate, and you can see where the building, 5 stories, is just blocking out the sun. If you've seen the email, you know what I'm talking about. So that is the height issue. I don't think at 46 feet you can get 5 stories. Actual framing, I don't think it's going to happen. And the sun study, looking down Green Street, it's just going to block out all the sun for Green Street. Point number 2 is the context. They say that this isn't going to mess up the context of Green Street. The adjacent properties are 2-story residential buildings and a 1-story commercial building. And they want to put in between that a 5-story commercial residential. It just doesn't fit. Now, the argument might be, hey, 333 is a few houses down. That was a commercial building that got retrofitted to residential. That's like apples and oranges. That wasn't a ground-up residential building. And then the other argument might be, hey, they're putting in the old trailer park development, right? That's a multi-acre site. That isn't a tiny square box. I see it on screen. Anyway, so that's the context. It's just out of context for where it is on Green Street. And then lastly is the traffic. Now, I understand that they potentially want to have limited parking, right? It's 29 units. If there's a couple, that's 58 people. We know it's not going to be that many cars, but whatever. Did they say what the address of this is going to be? Is it going to be Green Street or is it going to be Lee Burbank Highway? Because I see that they've rotated so the main entry is here. But if you're calling an Uber or a Lyft or anything with maps, I mean, they're going to say, take me down Green Street because you can't get dropped off on Lee Burbank Highway, all right? So they're going to use Green Street as their vehicle throughway, whether they have a car or not, all right? So traffic-wise, what is the address? How do you approach this building? Secondly, and this has already been talked about in some of the zoning meetings, Green Street is supposed to be 2 ways, but it's really like 1.5 lanes wide. Anytime a car's going one way and the other, you basically have to pull over to let that person by. And specifically, when you enter Green Street, that's really like 1 car wide. What happens is the car on the parkway has to stop if someone's coming out. Stop on the parkway, and you let this person out, or this person has to back up. It's very dangerous. So any more cars, I mean, we're talking like, again, potentially 58 more people. That's a lot of cars that could potentially be coming down Green Street. It could be a real traffic issue. And again, you guys had talked before about making Green Street one side parking and with resident stickers, and I think that's a great idea. Now, this image is super deceiving. This green space is literally in the middle of the road, all right? This is deceiving. This is not going to happen. The roadway goes right to the edge of this property. Don't get fooled by this. The roadway goes to the property line, period. So that is my, Ashley, can you pull up that, can you hit that image right there? Oh, I don't know if it's can be submitted or, if you've seen it, you've seen it. Their shadow study is deceiving. So with that said, I mean, that said, height, too tall, context, the wrong context for Green Street, traffic will be an issue. Again, I'm not saying, nothing, something will go in there. I'm not against something going in there, but this particular building, this height, this size, everything about it currently, it's wrong for Green Street. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other opponents? Anyone else not in favor? Good evening. State your name and address for the record, please.
Anthony Pazziali, 51 Arcadia Street. Mr. President, members of the council. That neighborhood isn't so bad for development, but what I'd like to speak on is I just think it is something that Revere, I would love to see the city focus on single-family homes. It's a shame that they already presumptuously, the developer has already taken down a single-family home, assuming that or presuming that they are going to get a variance. I think it's a little forward thinking of the developer to tear down a building before you've had the variance, which leads me to believe that they think they're going to get it no problem, which is a shame. I think the city really needs to focus on the American dream, which is single-family homes, not renting a one-bedroom apartment for $3,000. It doesn't really help people out to have more units, even if they're just one-bedroom units. How does that help them own a property? I don't like the fact that a single-family home was taken down and taken off the table, and in exchange, more rentable units, which take care of a developer that doesn't even live in the city. I just don't think it's right. I hope you guys, sorry to the developers, because I know some of the guys, I hope you guys turn this down. I think we really need to look at single-family homes at best, at worst, condos or townhouses. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other opponents? Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Hello, Amanda McGordy, 18 Green Street. My husband obviously spoke earlier, so I'm just gonna touch on from a little bit different perspective. My concerns are twofold. So one is, as he kind of spoke to, the scale of this is gargantuan. And I have some significant concerns in terms of how the process has already gone so far. We attempted to speak at the Zoning Board of Appeals about this. There didn't seem to be any concerns about placement of a building that the zoning required 25,000 square feet, and to present this 4,500 square foot lot as an appropriate placement for that was not an issue. And what we were told was it was going to be a hardship for them. I'm not sure what the bar is for hardship and if it's different in Revere, but currently it's being used for short-term parking. And some simple math tells me if you charge $10 a day for the 25 or 30 cars that are parked there, that's not really a hardship given what he paid for the property. My concern is also follow through on whatever designs are happening and the misleading nature of these drawings. Again, that is parking, what is green on there currently. So we're saying this, which has insufficient parking, the requirement for the TED district would be 58 parking spots. They're offering 8 parking spots. And now you're saying you're gonna remove this parking. I don't even know if they're allowed to do that, but that green is the street. That is not a sidewalk. That is street, and people park there currently. So that's very misleading. And the shadow study is also misleading because on my eyeballs, the sun sets here. So the sun sets behind this building here. I say this because the sun shines in my house. And if there is a 5-story building across the street, I will have no sun for half of the day as the sun is setting. So I feel like that is shady and misleading. And so I'd like to put that out there, that I have concerns about that. I heard concerns regarding the runoff and those things. On the other properties on the street that the Seekas own, they have paved, I don't believe, in accordance with permitting or any kind of zoning, the entire yards with asphalt, and they use them as parking lots. So the idea that they're gonna follow through on whatever rules are put in place for this, I think is exceedingly unlikely. It's great that they have a lot of friends that were willing to come in and say, like, I think this is a great idea because I don't have to live there. But as someone who does live there, I don't think it is the scale is appropriate, and I think they should be at least at a minimum required to follow the basic rules that other people have to follow when they're building things. I understand some level of flexibility. This is so far beyond the scope of every requirement for zoning, and it was just waived because this is somehow a hardship. Buying a property and then saying, I'm gonna just knock it down, without permits, I might add. I had to call the city because they just started demolishing a house with no fencing, safety fencing, nothing. Just started ripping it down. There's children in the street playing. Is a sign of how they function. And I think that that is really a problem, and I'm hopeful that the council will put some more stringent, at least, parameters on what would go in place. Again, I'm not under any delusion that nothing is gonna go there. I'm sure something will go there, but I'd like it to be something that's a little bit more realistic and appropriate, and also that there's a tighter set of rules for them to follow, because they don't seem to follow rules, they just seem to do what they want.
Thank you very much. Are there any opponents? Anyone else not in favor? Seeing and hearing none, I will close that side. City Councilors, Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I met with the Sika family, and I did talk to Sean and Amanda. And the first thing I'd like to say is that I am trying to protect you. So we did get one-sided parking. It was passed by the traffic. I'm trying to get 24/7, because if you have one-sided parking and you have overnight parking, then people can still park at 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So I'm trying to protect you with that if this goes through. The shadow study, I'd like to know who did the shadow study, and when was it done? Because I just asked for the shadow study 2 weeks ago, and or a week and a half ago, and I just can't understand how that could have been done so rapidly.
So Doug Stefanov, the architect, yeah, I did the shadow study. I have, a couple of weeks ago when I was asked. It's not that difficult. I'll double check, but we placed the building. It's through a computer program. We know where the sun is, where the building skies and scale, and it generates, you tell what time of the day and what time of the year. I do them all the time. It's common. Thank you.
I think that's when I asked for it. The other thing I would like to know is they had a business that failed, it didn't do well, a business, it was for businesses, and they made it into an apartment building, which we approved. I was just wondering how many cars is in that building? Because when I went there, it seemed like the parking spaces were completely empty. So could someone answer that question for me? But you should know.
Who's yelling at me that I should know? The original plan unit development for 333 Lee Burbank Highway, we were dealing with something that I don't think the developers ever, and the administration at that time really was very happy about. They had built a commercial building. They had built something that was on a major highway, and we thought this was going to be a really good thing. Unfortunately, the economy changed, and my clients were in a very, very difficult opportunity. Now they had to make a change. Went back, talked to the city, and then we submitted a plan unit development for us to turn it into residential units. The residential units at that time, because there was so much land around this particular property, we allowed them to, we were able to meet the requirement of 2 spaces per lot unit. So that's where we are.
So how many cars do you have in that building right now? That's what I'm asking.
I would think that, in speaking to my client, there's about six cars are presently being used for that particular building.
And how many apartments in that building?
There are 12. There are 12 units.
Okay. All right. I just want to say that Logistics has just bought the oil tanks, that oil field, And I do think that within the next probably 10 years, you're going to see that whole Lee Burbank Highway change. I think this is just the beginning. They're going to take down the oil tanks. They bought across the street, and they bought the oil tanks, which they've removed, I think, 8 or 9 right now, abutting the Stop and Shop. So I think that parcel of land, Lee Burbank Highway, is going to be developed within the next 10 years. So that's, I don't have a problem with this. The height I have a problem with, I do have a problem with, but I'm trying to stop anything that's going to go in Green Street, whether it's an Uber or parking, or if someone has a car in that building, that they're not allowed to park on Green Street. So, but I'm going to vote for this, but I'm not very happy about the size. One of the things, Larry, I want to ask you, sorry, Mr. Simeone, is what is the size of the commercial building that you transported into the residential?
The 333 Lee Burbank?
Yes.
I do not know the exact size. But, what's that?
It's 4 stories,
4
so you're going to
stories.
go up 5 stories? Okay.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Just a reminder, if anyone else wants, Councilor Zambudo?
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, this is going to zoning, my committee. I believe it's on the 9th. So anybody that has any further questions about this isn't the end. Come up and share your concerns with us on the 9th. And, this is how it works. And thank you.
Thank you, Council. This will be referred to zoning on December 9th at 5 p.m.
Calendar item number 8, hearing called is ordered on a request of Edgar Ospina, Ospina Family Trust, 53 Centennial Ave, Revere, Mass., to terminate the following deed restriction for the property located at 51 Centennial Ave. No residential and/or commercial building or structure for habitation and/or occupancy shall be constructed or placed upon the premises. The foregoing restriction shall be construed as a covenant running with the land as binding upon future grantees, heirs, executors, administrators, assigns, and transferees of said premises or any parts thereof. This restriction cannot be altered by any variance.
This is a public hearing. We will open it to proponents. Good evening, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, City Council President and City Councilors. My name is Nancy O'Neill, and I am an attorney located at 14 Proctor Avenue. I am here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Edgar Ospina of the Ospina Family Trust, owner of the 51 to 53 Centennial Avenue property. I would like to walk the Honorable Council through the deed restriction of the property, as well as Mr. Ospina's proposals for the property, which, as I will explain, are linked together. So the 51 to 53 Centennial Avenue property consists of a pre-existing non-conforming apartment building at 53 Centennial Avenue and a vacant lot used for parking at the 53 Centennial Avenue building. The proposal here tonight is to extend and alter the pre-existing non-conforming use and structure at 53 Centennial Avenue so as to construct an addition to that building over the 51 Centennial Avenue lot and create an updated modern architectural facade to unify the two buildings, which you can see here. So the new addition at 51 Centennial Avenue would contain 3 stories in line with the number of stories of the existing building next door, with parking and a small lobby on the first floor and 6 apartments over floors 2 and 3. So these 6 apartments would all be 1-bedroom units. So the finished building, consisting of 51 and 53 Centennial Avenue, would include 13 units. So the current building, 53 Centennial Avenue, contains 7 units, and the new building would contain 6 units. So the size and scale of the addition, which is slightly smaller in height than the existing building, fits with the surrounding properties, which feature similar building coverage and density. 9 parking spaces are planned for the finished building, to include 8 parking spaces beneath the addition and 1 space located in a pre-existing garage at 53 Centennial. So the space revision here would be 0.69 spaces per unit, which exceeds demand estimated by the Metropolitan Area Planning Council for transit-oriented apartments in the city. So in short, what is being proposed here is a transit-oriented addition to the building. The property is located about 1,000 feet or a 4-minute walk to the Revere Beach Blue Line station. So we expect project residents to utilize the Blue Line and nearby bus lines for transportation needs and to walk to local small businesses in the Shirley Avenue neighborhood. So this building has been designed to meet current conditions in the Shirley Avenue neighborhood. This is a transit-oriented building close to small businesses. The building will be updated with an attractive facade to improve Centennial Avenue and bring visual interest into Fitzhenry Square. So I'd like to add that the 51 Centennial Avenue property, the vacant lot, is burdened by a deed restriction that was placed on the property 20 years ago when it was deeded out of the city of Revere to an owner prior to Mr. Ospina. So that deed restriction would prevent construction on the parcel. So as part of this proposal for the addition to 53 Centennial Avenue, we are also requesting that the City Council lift this restriction. So the City Council has authority to lift this restriction pursuant to the Massachusetts general laws, which give the City Council power to release municipal interests in land. Now, Massachusetts courts generally favor the lifting of deed restrictions, where a deed restriction is impeding desirable future uses. And this comes from a 2017 case called 135 Wells Avenue versus HAC. So the city's own master plan, Next Stop Revere, supports the notion that this project is a desirable future use. That plan sets out the city's planning and economic development goals for the city in specific neighborhoods such as Shirley Avenue. And that plan calls for the production of housing in the Shirley Avenue neighborhood at higher densities and with less parking than other parts of the city. So the master plan reflects that Shirley Avenue is a denser neighborhood benefited by public transportation, and that it needs additional housing to sustain the small businesses in that area. So we would argue that this project is a desirable future use that would justify the lifting of the deed restriction, both on the merits of the project itself and also based on the city's Next Stop Revere master plan. So again, this is a minimally impactful project with sufficient parking that will beautify a neglected corner of Fitzhenry Square. My client, Mr. Ospina, is a City of Revere resident. He is a BIPOC business owner and developer who is proud to improve his property in the city. So we would respectfully request that the council look favorably upon lifting of the deed restriction and also the request for a special permit, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other proponents? Anyone else in favor? Seeing and hearing none, we'll close that side. Any opponents? Anyone not in favor? Please state your name and address for the record.
Anthony Pazziali, 51 Arcadia Street. Mr. President, members of the council. It's great to hear that we have a local business owner and someone that lives in the city that would like to build more units, but I would like to ask him personally, and I would like you to think of, again, the American dream.
Communication through the chair, sir.
Sorry, Mr. President. Mr. President, would really like the city to focus on ownership, condos, townhouses, and less rentals. I don't see how rentals help out the residents of this city. If anything, it puts them in a situation where they're spending thousands of dollars on something they will never own. And I would really like to see the city go in the direction of condos, townhouses, or singles for residents. Thank you.
So are you an opponent of this?
I'm an opponent.
Thank you. Are there any other opponents? Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Laura Holmes, 243 Campbell Ave. I have questions. I understand this is currently a 6-unit. I'd like to hear what the size of the apartments are that are there now and what's the rent level, as well as what will be the rent level for and sizes of the new apartments.
So are you an opponent or a proponent?
I'm an opponent until I find out that there's going to be affordable housing.
Understood. Thank you so much. Good evening, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Jan Dumas, 50 Walnut Avenue. I am an opponent at the moment. I may be a proponent, but I doubt it very much. I would very much like to hear more about this building, including if there is going to be affordable housing, which our neighborhood desperately needs. I would like to know more about if they are going to be a partner in the Shirley Ave community. You talked about how you want to work with local businesses. I'm very active in the local community and with the local businesses. We don't know you, Net, so we would like to be a friend. But we'd also like to know, again, if they're going to be affordable, what their size is going to be, what you're going to do about the parking situation, if you're going to be offering parking passes, because it is going to be a 3-story building, so they are going to be eligible for parking, unless you're going to put no parking in your leases. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other opponents? Anyone else not in favor? Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Victor Mejias. I own 55 Centennial and 189 Campbell Avenue. I've just had concerns about the parking at that property, considering it's very tight over there now, although there's, parking passes for the residents there, but just concerned with the additional size and the amount of parking for that size building. And she spoke very quick. I was just kind of curious as to the woman that just spoke, as to how big the existing units are, how many bedrooms are in the main building that's there now, and how many bedrooms are going to be added to the addition.
Are you an opponent at this point?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other opponents? Seeing and hearing none, I will close that side of the hearing. Any councilors wishing to speak? Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I know he's going to go into zoning, so we'll talk a little more, but just so folks know, there will be 2 affordable housing units included in these 6 new units, and they will be targeted for veterans' preference. As far as parking and cars are concerned, these 6 units will not get any permits for street parking, so they will have to have no cars, no car category in their lease. So they have to come in just like we have been doing in all the other units on in the Ave. What else do we have, Nancy, that I said? The apartment sizes, I think 1 bedrooms, Joe? Yeah, 1 bedroom, 700 square feet each. The other part of the building has 7 units in it, and the parking garage that they were talking about is across the street from 189 Campbell Ave, kind of underneath the building. So we had a community meeting last week that was sent out to all the owners of butters within 300 feet. We only had 1 person show up, and we explained what they were going to do. And he had an issue with access into the back of his building, which they're considering. And the building itself, when they first approached me, I told them that the building cannot be higher than the existing building that they own now, and that's what they did. They came straight across. The middle part of the building, of those you can see it, is a stairwell going into the new section. There is no elevator because they don't have to do elevator below 3 floors. And we checked on the windows. There's no windows on the side of the building. We checked with the fire department. They are having them put in special fire alarms and sprinkler system, which they have to do. Drainage coming off the street will be underground. It won't be coming off the sidewalk when it rains, or so there's no freezing in the winter. And I think that's about it for now, and there'll be more coming up when we have the zoning subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to either yourself or you, sir, what are the size, just to answer the questions that came from the floor, what are the size of the apartments currently in the existing?
So thank you. So I'd like to thank our neighbors for their thoughtful comments. So the existing building, it has 7 units. It's a mixture of 2s and 3s. The existing units are on average between 800 and 900 square feet. The 6 new units that would be contained in the addition there, Those would all be one bedrooms, and they average at around 700 square feet. And if I could just clarify one point regarding the affordable housing, that was proposed. I need to take that back to my client, but we will fully evaluate that as well as the request of our abutter. Thank you.
And will there be, there's no parking? And will that be in the lease?
Oh, sure, we can put that in our lease. I understand that the building will also be excluded from the parking pass program for the city. So if people who didn't have a spot in the garage were to park on the street, they would be towed.
Yeah, I just think it really helps solidify that if it's in the lease when they sign it, stating that they're not going to get a parking pass. So when then they do get the car towed, they're not coming the next day saying, hey, why is my car not here? So I appreciate that. And really, if you could think about that affordable piece, sir, we really need it. That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm a big fan of the no car category for the property, and like Councilor Silvestri said, I think that's very important to get in the lease. I also am a big fan of the affordable units that will be used for veterans, and I don't know if it's possible if we could give strictly Revere veterans preference. If we can do that, that would be great. I'm not sure that's something we can do. But I know the last development, veteran housing, came from the state, and there weren't any Revere veterans in there. But if that's something we can do, that would be great. I'm not sure if it's possible, but I would love to get the Revere veterans first preference. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors? Councilor Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have one question, well, two, actually. What was the initial reason for the deed restriction being imposed in the first place?
So that was imposed by the city. I can't speak to the city's intention on that. I can tell you a bit about the history of the parcel. At the site of this addition, that was originally, this is where we got this idea from. It was a 6-unit building constructed around 1900, about the same age as the building next door. That building, unfortunately, had a fire in the mid-90s. With the economic situation at the time, the owner was unable to secure funding to repair the building. It was torn down. That's why there was a vacant lot. The city took it as tax title. When it sold the property, it imposed that restriction on there. But as I've noted, as everyone here also knows, the situation in Shirley Avenue has greatly improved from about the year 2000. And it's a vibrant neighborhood, walkable neighborhood, and it can support this type of apartment. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to, because a deed restriction is just, I'm curious as to why the city felt to impose such a restriction on that parcel initially. And so I would need that information before overturning that. And also, do you happen to know the distance between the new addition and the parcel next to it?
If I could just present our architect here, Mr. Joe Luna. Thank you. He can answer your question better than I can.
For the record, my name is Joseph Luna. Luna Design Group, we're located at 100 Conifer Hill Drive in Danvers. We are the project architects for this project. You can see on the site plan just how limited the site area we have here. On the west side of the property line, we're coming up almost just about a foot off of it. We're tight. But the adjacent building is approximately about 8 to 10 feet away from our face of building. By building code, because we're in that close proximity to the lot line, there will be no windows on that side. That wall will also be a 1-hour rated firewall as well. The same goes for the rear property line as well. So we realize that we are tied up against those buildings, but we're taking all the necessary life safety measures to make sure that there's no breach of a fire.
Councilor Kelly, go ahead.
Thank you. Do you know what the distance that would normally be required for that side?
As far as building code,
Yes.
they allow within 3 feet, anything less than 3 feet, there can be no openings inside the wall by building code. From 3 to 5 feet, you're allowed 15% of window openings on that. On the west side, because we're within that 3-foot threshold, there are no openings on that side.
So you're saying that we only need 3 feet in terms of a setback on side?
By building code, not by zoning, that's a separate issue. So
Okay, I think
by
I'm
building
referring-
code,
I think
in
I'm
terms of-
referring to
right.
zoning, yep. Okay,
Those are 2 separate issues.
right, you wouldn't happen to know the zoning.
I can tell you right now.
Can I just, I
Yeah.
can answer that one. So the zoning for the RB district where this is located, it would be 10 feet on the side.
Okay.
I believe we have the 1 foot on the side, and then about 6 to 7 feet on the other property line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Mr. President, just an FYI, through you to Councilor Kelly, that restriction was put on about 15 years ago when we felt the whole area was too dense. But now it's 15 years later, the atmosphere is looking for additional housing, and so if we lift, that restriction, they'll be able to put this unit in. So it was, like I said, it's 15 years old ago, and we're just looking for, to make a change. So that's why it was put on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. This is going to be referred to zoning on December 9th.
Calendar item number 9, hearing called is ordered on the application of Edgar Espina Family Trust, 53 Centennial Ave, requesting a special permit from the City Council to enable the appellant to construct a 3-story addition consisting of 6 apartments to the pre-existing non-conforming residential apartment building on the property known as 51-53 Centennial Ave.
This is part of the same presentation. This will also be going to zoning on December 9th. Actually, my apologies, this is a public hearing. We have to take proponents at this time. Any proponents that are in favor? I assumed you were. Seeing and hearing none, we'll move through that part of the hearing. Any opponents? Anyone not in favor? Seeing and hearing none, close that set. Ma'am, if you, absolutely. Yeah, come on up. If you could come up and state your name and address, that's okay. Are you
Bonnie
a
Curran,
proponent
Barrett
or
Street.
opponent?
I'm neither or right now. I have a question that makes me decide. We just did the 6 units. This is 6 units. Will they be commercial rate on the water? Or will it be like the rest of us?
That's not what she's asking, sir.
It's not, they just passed 6 units and under.
If it's,
Don't have to pay a commercial rate anymore.
okay,
That's my question.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other opponents wishing to speak? Yes, opponent. Name and address, please.
Jan Dumas, 50 Walnut Avenue. You haven't memorized that yet? Hi, me again. Just wanted to mention that Shirley Avenue neighborhood has been improving since 2010, which has made it so much a target for developers, and I regret every minute I spend improving that neighborhood now. And I would like more affordable housing in this building. And again, I want confirmation that no parking will be in the leases. And is it possible to put more affordable housing in this building? And to maybe do some improvements in the neighborhood to make it, give us some sort of compensation, because you guys are so interested in coming to Shirley Avenue. I'm going to sit down and cry now.
Thank you very much. I'm closing that side of the hearing. Any counselors? This is going to be sent to zoning for December 9th.
Calendar item number 10, hearing called is ordered on a joint petition submitted by National Grid and Verizon to relocate one jointly owned pole number 4811, 10 feet east from existing location, and install new pole 456-50, 82 feet east from existing pole 456 on Rossetti Street.
Is anyone here from National Grid? Well, I am shocked. I'd like to, unless there's any opposition, I want to place this on file. Placed on file.
Next up is the Legislative Affairs Committee report.
Councilor Argenzio.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first item before us tonight was the composting ordinance that we've discussed in length. We made a couple of small amendments to it tonight, and I'd like to ask the City Council to vote favorably on this as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any other councilors? Ordered on a second reading as amended. Ordered on a third and final reading as amended. Roll call for engrossment and ordainment.
Shall the City Council approve an ordinance establishing a program to divert waste from landfills and incinerators to offset waste disposal costs? Councilor Argenzio.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Kelly.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Cogliandro.
Yes.
Yes, the ordinance is engrossed and ordained.
Mr. President, the second item before us was an ordinance amending metered rates for the City of Revere. This pertains to 4-, 5-, and 6-family homes that are owner occupied, and we seek to move this from commercial water rates to residential water rates, and the committee looked favorably on this, and I would like a roll call to look favorably on it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ordered on a second reading.
No.
Let's take a roll call.
Roll call on the second reading. Councilor Argenzio.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Kelly.
No.
No. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky is recused. Councilor Silvestri.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo.
No.
No. And Council President Cogliandro.
Yes.
Yes, the ordinance has been tabled. There's an objection on the second reading.
Tabled till the following meeting.
There was a third item on the agenda, and it's been withdrawn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Calendar item, the appointment subcommittee report.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had one item on the agenda, an appointment for Sarah Hawes to the Revere Arts Commission. It was voted out favorably. I would ask the council for a road call, please.
All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Thank you.
Pursuant to Rule 23, the following motions or communications are being reported out of committee with a recommendation to be placed on file. Calendar item number 15, motion presented by Councilors McKenna and Argenzio that the mayor request the Traffic Commission to assess the activation of the 15-minute grace period button on parking meters in the Broadway Central Business District. The activation of this feature will provide customers with free parking for 15 minutes to run quick errands without being penalized.
Just to inform the public what this means, when something goes into subcommittee, after 90 days by rule, it's supposed to come back before the city council with the recommendation to place it on file, meaning it was put into subcommittee, and we've decided not to do anything with it. At this point, Councilor McKenna, what is your will? Councilor Argenzio, you would like?
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to keep this before us. We had agreed to hold off on this until the Chief of Planning and Community Development was able to do their parking study. The parking study is complete, and that's the fourth item on this agenda. I'd like this to stay in committee, and the Community Development Office and the parking clerk appear before us to explain the parking study results, and I would still like to have this 15-minute thing considered.
This will remain in committee.
Calendar item number 16, motion presented by Councilor Jaramillo that the City Council refer the following proposed ordinance to the Climate, Sustainability, and Workforce Subcommittee for further discussion. An ordinance creating stronger jobs for Revere residents and improving the well-being of Revere's working families.
What is your will, Councilor?
Mr. President, I think if we could keep this in committee for now. I got to talk to some of the residents and
This will stay in committee.
Calendar item number 17, motion presented by Council President Cogliandro that the City Council discuss the city's street sweeping program, including fees, scheduling, and any other potential changes.
Permission to speak from the chair? Place on file?
Calendar item number 18, this is a presentation by the Chief of Planning and Community Development and Jason Schreiber of Stantec on the Broadway Corridor Parking Study.
Quite the presentation. Good evening, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Tom Skrowski, 281 Broadway. As Councilor Argenzio mentioned, we spoke earlier this afternoon, and now that the study's done and was, presented to the council on a busy council night after a lot of public hearings with National Grid, where we didn't get a chance for a lot of Q&A. We'll have an opportunity at an upcoming legislative affairs meeting to talk about both that and how that aligns with the motion put forward about the 15-minute grace periods, and look forward to presenting that to the subcommittee in the near future.
Mr. President?
Thank you very much, Councilor Jaramillo.
If it's amenable to Councilor Argenzio, just because I believe this motion on the 15-minute grace period is in economic development, that we put this in economic development and have the conversation.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
At the same time?
Yep, that's fine with me.
So motion to move this to economic development.
Economic development.
Communications, calendar item number 19, communication from the city auditor requesting recessions of prior year borrowing authorizations.
Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everybody. Richard Viskey, 281 Broadway, City CFO. In preparation for the large high school project, the city treasurer and myself culled through all of the approved borrowings over the years that have been on the books for a while. These are projects that at once upon a time this council has authorized for borrowing, and projects have been completed. We've borrowed the money that we need to borrow for these projects, and these authorizations are basically allow me to borrow more money against those projects, but since they're all completed, this is a way to rescind the borrowing authorization for upwards of $22.4 million. So really, it's just a way to clean up the books so that when we go to bond for our future projects, that we won't show that we have this kind of credit line outstanding here, and it's really putting a wrap on a bunch of old projects, most of which are the trust for the consent decree. A lot of the borrowings, if we authorize $10 million or $12 million and the project's coming at $8 or $9 million, we have that authorization on the books, and we're just really looking to clean it up and have a nice clean slate for calendar year 2025. So I did put an attachment with the memo, with the letter that shows all the projects, and happy to try to answer any questions. But again, this is really a house cleaning for debt service for the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any counselors? Madam Clerk, let's take the roll.
Shall the City Council rescind the borrowing authorization amounts identified on the November 24 authorized and unissued debt to rescind schedule, as they are no longer needed for the projects for which they were authorized? Councilor Agenzio.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Hass.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Kelly.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna. Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Cogliandro.
Yes.
Yes, the bond rescission order has been approved. Calendar item number 20, communication from the city auditor requesting reallocation of unexpended bond proceeds in the amount of $2,347,983.
Mr. CFO?
Good evening again. Richard Viskey, CFO, 281 Broadway. This is a bit different. This is actual debt that has been issued and bond proceeds are in our accounts. However, these projects are also deemed completed. So what this body would need to do, this is similar to a reauthorizing debt that was for one particular project that would like to use towards other similar scope projects. And when I say similar scope, I mean projects that can be bonded for an equal amount of time for the original bond. So, for example, if we sold 20-year notes for a building project, we couldn't use that money to buy vehicles or do other things that would otherwise be a 5 or 10-year amortization. So working with bond counsel and the financial advisors, there are 3 different projects that have been completed, and money remains in these projects that we are looking to allocate. And what we try to do is come up with the broadest language possible to utilize these funds. These are all long-term 20-year bonds, and the 3 current capital projects that we're involved in right now to spend this money would be drainage systems at the McMacken Field, construction of the McKinley Building, and otherwise any public drainage infrastructure projects throughout the city. Since these dollars have been borrowed and the project's completed, it's been advised that we spend these dollars first, kind of a first in, first out method. So the 3 projects identified are active projects right now, and what we are looking to do is reallocate those bond proceeds from the old projects to these new project. I do believe that this does need a public hearing and the same procedures that we would do for a bond authorization, so I don't think we can act on this tonight, but happy to answer any questions on those proceeds and the game plan on using them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any counselors? This will be referred to a public hearing on December 16th.
Thank you.
Calendar item number 21, communication from the Chief of Planning and Community Development requesting adoption of the city's housing production plan.
Good evening, everybody. It's me again, Tom Skrowski, 281 Broadway. Excited to talk with you today about our housing production plan. I'm joined here by Noah Harper from J.M. Goldson, our consultant that's been working with us on this project, and Lorena Escalera, our community development planner, who was hoping to get an HDMI hookup so we could get the presentation. Oh, thank you. And as they're working through the technical aspects here, I'll just note this has been about an 18-month process we've been working on that has included a number of community meetings and an extensive community survey process where we sought to get feedback from residents in the community about the creation of this housing production plan. We're also supported in this work by an HPP working group, which was a number of volunteer Revere residents and stakeholders who are committed to doing this work, some of whom are here with us tonight. If you're part of that working group, if you could raise your hand. So appreciate the support of those who were in the working group, and then representing the council, we had Councilors McKenna, Silvestri, and Jaramillo joining us from the council side. Appreciate everybody's work in this. It's certainly a better end product as we're all doing it together with the more input we had from the residents and the community. So ultimately what we're going to present tonight is really a roadmap for building the right kind of housing in the right location across all income spectrums and in a way that can help us proactively manage our growth as a community. I'm looking forward to talking through the goals and the strategies of this plan, but for now I'm going to kick it off to Noah to get us started.
Good evening, Noah Harper with JM Goldson. I'm a housing-focused planner and have been lucky to have the privilege of working on this plan for the last 15 months with the city. Wanted to talk briefly about what a housing production plan is, what it includes, housing needs assessment, which is a lot of data stuff that really confirms what we're all seeing and experiencing right now with high housing costs and so many people struggling to make ends meet. Then we'll go into the goals and strategies, the most interesting part of the plan, I think, and Tom will kick that off with Lorena. Just to really briefly say, what is an HPP, a housing production plan? This is a state-created program that essentially, once it's approved by the state, it can help to mitigate 40B projects as one of the most practical applications of it. And what that means is if you're under 10% of your subsidized housing inventory, your affordable units, you can use this as a way to have a little more leeway in saying what projects are permitted in town, or in city, excuse me. But I like to think of it also as a way to have a really constructive community conversation about what Revere should look like in the next 5 years, to hear about how people are struggling, what the opportunities are, and work together to find some common opportunities to make housing more affordable. And it's been just a pleasure working in the city over the last year or so. We've done a survey, we've done community forums, we've had a lot of great input and gotten to hear from folks firsthand about the housing crisis that we're all dealing with today. So inside the housing production plan, there's a lot of charts and graphs, a lot of data, but also some thought on what are the constraints to development, the environmental factors. Zoning comes up quite often. I'll just preview that. Then also, what are the local organizations, local staffing, local government that's able to work on problems, and how can we get folks to work together maybe more collaborative and strategic ways. And a lot of this community engagement that we worked on, I just wanted to pull out two quick graphs. We said, what are the pressures that are really making you think about leaving Rivier? Number one, mortgage and rent. We heard that over and over again. The cost of ownership, the cost of rent is just too high. And then also hearing, what are the pressing housing challenges? There aren't a lot of starter homes. It's really hard. As a 27-year-old, I'm not seeing any starter homes, and it makes me question, am I gonna be able to stay in the region long term? Also, market rate housing. When we talk about affordable housing, I think there's a different definition for everyone. Capital A affordable, that's deed restricted, but also housing that is affordable to a lot of folks. And just hearing that there are not a lot of options on the market today. Every year, the Boston Foundation puts out the Greater Boston Housing Report Card, and we see these trends over and over again. We see that folks are aging, household sizes are shrinking, we're not making enough housing, vacancy rates are high, and home ownership is declining. So with all of that, sort of setting the stage for the goals and strategies that we worked on with Tom and Lorena. I'll invite Tom up here.
Thank you, Noah. So before we get into the 6 goals and the strategies throughout them, I want to tell you a little bit about why I think we need to have an HPP and why we decided to do one here in the city. So first and foremost, like Noah mentioned, and I won't belabor the point, the safe harbor status is the statutory reason why we'd want to get a housing production plan approved. And that's certainly a goal, but I would say it's really a secondary one to the other critical components of this. We looked at this as a way to effectively manage our growth and proactively as a city. So if we want to continue our upward trajectory as a city, if we want to continue to build new school buildings, if we want to continue to support our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers, if we want to continue to support our growing senior population in the city, growth is necessary for all of those things. And in order to do it, the question really is, how are we going to do it effectively? This also will help us serve resident basic needs. So in the housing production plan, it stated that our median household income is $74,000. That means more or less that the average person in Revere is eligible for affordable housing. So That was certainly borne out in the survey data that showed over 60% of the people that own a home today in Revere that took that survey, over 60% of them said they could not buy that same home today if they were in the same position. And, so we're really meeting residents where they are in the city and looking both rentals and affordability on the homeownership side and serving our basic needs. But I also think a housing production plan can be a lot more than that too. It can stimulate economic development as well. So a lot of times in my field, we talk about economic development on the one hand and housing on the other hand, and it's as if they're two separate items altogether, but I would argue to all of you tonight that they're inextricably linked. And I think the Shirley Avenue neighborhood's a great example of that, a place where we've seen some pretty aggressive housing growth in the last decade and beyond, and that has led to a revitalized neighborhood and improved economic conditions, improved small business, and just generally creating a better place to live, work, and play in the Shirley Avenue neighborhood. And that's because housing and economic development really are linked. And I think as we're looking at future corridors such as Broadway and the Broadway master planning work that we've done, we've talked a lot about the linkages between housing and economic development. I think that's critical. And the next one is to mitigate traffic, and I'm sure a lot of heads will turn when they see it because they think, well, Tom, whenever we talk about housing, the first concern we have is traffic. And I hear you loud and clear. It was the #1 concern in the Next Stop Revere master plan that we put together. But here's the thing. We need teachers in our schools. We need folks in City Hall keeping the lights on, making sure that this city's running well. We need people at Logan Airport, TSA workers. We need people at our restaurants, our line cooks. We need people providing critical services in both the city and in the region. And the question is, do we want them driving from New Hampshire or further up the North Shore, or do we want folks living closer to where they work? And I would argue to you, if we're looking at building the right housing in the right locations, we can help mitigate some of those traffic impacts because Revere is a cut-through from a lot of people coming up from points north through both to Revere for jobs and into Boston. And I think if we can do a better job of locating housing that is affordable for those workers, we can mitigate some of those traffic issues. And I know it's a bit counterintuitive, but I think it's important to recognize. And then finally, it can enhance our economic competitiveness. And I know you hear about this a lot. The governor, the Secretary of Housing and Livable Communities at Augustus has mentioned time and time again, you've seen it on news stories about we are losing our young people every day as they're leaving to jobs in more affordable parts of the country, whether they're going to the south or otherwise, where they're looking for a more affordable way to raise a family. This is not just a news story. This is not just a data point in a survey, but it's also personal. And actually, Lorraine Escalera, our community development planner, just last week put her 2 weeks in because she's moving to Texas because that's a more affordable place to raise a family and to start, we talked a lot about starter homes and the American dream. I heard that from Mr. Parziali. And I promise you this wasn't theatrically timed for the presentation of the housing production plan, and we're really bummed to be losing Lorena because she's done amazing work both in the housing field and as a conservation agent for the city. But this is, as an employer here at the city, this is a challenge I face on a regular basis, trying to keep good, talented young people in the city. And in 2016, when I bought a home, was just a kid fresh out of grad school working in a nonprofit. My wife was a teacher. We made an investment in a two-family. One unit in a two-family, and that was our American dream. And I think looking to today, I couldn't have done that in this current environment on the salary that I had. And our young people are facing that challenge on a daily basis, as are folks further on in the spectrum too, as they're looking to age in place, and it's becoming increasingly unaffordable for folks of all ages. So I would argue to you that it's also critical for our economic competitiveness to remain relevant and remain competitive as both a city and a region, that we need to find housing options that can support our workers in the city and beyond. So let's get off my soapbox for a minute and get to the 5-year goals that we put together. They're related to preservation, stability, wealth building, naturally occurring affordable housing stock, supply, building more housing, and then location, building housing in the right locations. If you're following along on Revere TV, you can go to revere.org, projects and planning initiatives, and we have a link for the housing production plan draft right there for you. And I would direct your attention to Chapter 2. That's really where the rubber hits the road as we talk about the goals and the strategies. So, first goal is really about preserving deed-restricted affordable housing that's safe, accessible.
Sorry, Tom, hate to interrupt you. Can you just repeat that real quick? I was writing that down.
Where to find it online. All right, so if you go to the top tab, I think says Business Development, and then you click that and go to Projects and Planning Initiatives, and I believe it's the first item is our Housing Production Plan draft. And then from there, you'll want to go to Chapter 2, Goals, Strategies, and Action Items, and that's really where we get into the details of this plan. You're welcome. So, yes. Not too much longer, yeah. It will go to zoning, okay.
Unless there's any objection, when he's finished, I'd like to put it into zoning, so.
Mr. President, also, is there a zoning change on the matter, or should it go to economic development? And
Counselor?
There are some zoning issues in this, right, in terms of relieving some zoning requirements and things like that? That would be,
There are zoning pertinent items here, I would
Yes.
say.
are these zoning recommendations or are these zoning changes that you're proposing?
It includes recommendations, but no actual changes will be voted on. And I guess preface this by saying we have the goals and the strategies, but then all these strategies individually would need to get approved by the council at a later date, even if and when, hopefully, this housing production plan is adopted.
But does adopting the plan mean that the things come into effect?
Adopting the plan only adopts this as a roadmap, where we have a menu of different
So there are
strategies.
no actual zoning changes,
We're
Mr.
not
President.
legally compelled to adopt any of these strategies. That would all come in a future meeting with the council.
So we're just discussing, so I would motion after Mr. Tom, for it to go to economic
So
development.
once Mr. Skorowski's finished, we'll discuss where we'd like to put it, Counselor, okay?
Thank you.
You got it.
All right, I'm reading the room, so I'll get a move on it. Stability is all about protecting low to moderate income renters and vulnerable populations from displacement and discrimination. Goal 3 is about wealth building, offering affordable homeownership opportunities, not just to income eligible residents, but again, the missing middle and just people across the income spectrum that are struggling to find homeownership opportunities in the city. Naturally occurring affordable housing stock, so preventing the displacement of low to moderate income renters by stabilizing market rate homes with below market rents. And supply is really about building, I'll leave it at that. And location, building in the right locations. So in that Chapter 2, we have a series of strategies, and I'll run through these quickly because these are just the highlights, I think some of the most important ones. Zoning reform is one of them. It recommends we reform our zoning to support housing production by doing things such as reducing minimum lot sizes, permitting zero lot line construction in the right locations, allowing 2 and 3 families by right in residential districts, minimizing or eliminating off-street parking requirements near transit, and adopting inclusionary zoning. I'll just say on this map here, you see all of those parcels are parcels in which a structure exists today that would not be permitted by zoning as it stands. So the majority of our parcels in the city are actually non-compliant with our zoning because they were built in a time before more restrictive zoning was placed in the city. So in order to allow that missing middle housing, we really do need to be a little bit more aggressive in zoning reform. It also looks at adopting inclusionary zoning requirements, and Lorena can just touch on that.
I'll be very brief. So the main point that I want to drive here is that Revere's former proposal back in 2022 fit in well with the surrounding context of the need. In the inner core communities, such as Malden and Chelsea, their IZ requires that 15% of the total development units be set aside for affordable housing. And we were under that requirement at 12%. So while I won't be able to see the outcome of the second iteration of the proposal, I'm feeling very optimistic that this plan will lead us in the right direction, and it's been really special and fulfilling to be part of the project team. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorena. And, you know, again, this would take another council vote on inclusionary zoning. I know last time it was a bit of a take it or leave it policy, and I think this time around I want to have a conversation with the council that, you know, hopefully look forward to adopting something like this. And Lorena's done some great groundwork looking at existing communities, and we can talk about that later. And appreciate her work here. The Community Preservation Act, it looks at adopting the CPA to unlock funds for affordable housing. Community Preservation Act can fund affordable housing, open space and recreation, and historic preservation. It's a surcharge that needs to be approved by a vote of the residents in the city. It also includes matching support from the state, and matching support that currently we're missing out on. 196 of the 251 community, or 351 in the Commonwealth have it today. Underutilized sites, it recommends we partner with our Rivier Housing Authority to redevelop underutilized sites. They're actually working on that right now with the Housing Authority. Dean Harris and his team are doing great work. And the Coolidge and Constitution Ave properties, they actually have an RFP out for a master plan now, and we're partnering with them on working through that process. And then utilizing tax title parcels for affordable housing, you'll be seeing that in the new year as a proposal coming from my office. Promoting housing production, supporting existing 40-hour smart growth districts, the two that we have in the city, through creative tools and incentives to make the numbers work, like the Housing Development Incentive Program, which is the next item on the agenda. Stabilizing existing affordable housing through things I'll talk about at the subcommittee meeting, frankly. But there's a variety of different tools we can use. And then transportation demand management. So we want to look to adopt some aggressive strategies to create you know, an objective policy that requires developers to provide transportation options for residents. So if we're going to say you don't need parking, okay, well, how are people going to get around? And this is a strategy that Everett, Boston, and others have adopted to create a more comprehensive look at transportation mitigation in the city. And those are just a few of them. Again, the rest of them are in Chapter 2. Hopefully you guys can get a chance to read through it, and I'm happy to answer any questions now or between now and the next committee meeting. I'm always here.
Thank you, Tom. Councilor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could you speak a little bit about the right of first refusal mentioned?
So this was, there's a few different ways it can operate, but a community like Salem, for example, offered property owners the chance to sell to the city a right of first refusal. I think, you know, property owners could sell it for a few $1,000s, where the city would have the opportunity to be the first party to purchase a property with maybe the intent of restricting it for deed-restricted affordability. So it's still a new tool, but an opportunity to take a property before it goes on in the market. And, you know, a lot of the housing we have in the city that's affordable today isn't actually deed-restricted, it's just cheap. So this could be used as a tool to keep housing cheap for those residents in the median income here in the city that need affordable housing to live here.
And is Salem, to your knowledge, the only municipality that is acting on this?
To our knowledge, yes. There was a bill going through the State House called Tenant Opportunity Purchase Act, TOPA, that was similar, but I think Salem is the only one I'm aware of that's done this.
And would these rights of first refusal pertaining to these properties be designated to certain areas? I know you put that map up, and that looked like a citywide initiative. Is this going to be designated in certain areas of the city or citywide, or?
Well, I guess be the second community in the Commonwealth adopting it, so we could create a set of standards and how and where we wanted to look at it. But I think in Salem it was citywide, so anyone that wanted to opt in, any property owner would sell that first refusal right. And then the city could decide if they wanted to purchase it or if it could go to the open market.
And then if it were to be purchased, all of these initiatives that are outlined in Chapter 2 One of them, I don't know if you touched on, but I saw something that was a shareable unit or shareable, kitchens and bathrooms and things like that. That would be okay, no required parking, lot line building, all of that would be in effect, correct?
Well, I think in this case, if the city exercised its right of first refusal, provided the property owner sold it to us, and we exercised our right, we would decide what would happen with any given property. I don't think I wouldn't assume that all of those things would happen. It might just be if we have a single-family home that's affordable, we bought the right of first refusal, we decide to purchase the property, and the housing trust fund might then just sell it for affordable home ownership.
I understand, but they would be options. All the options would be on the table, correct?
Options that would then be subject to a public vote, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Before, one moment, I just want to remind everyone there is no public comment at this point in the meeting. Thank you. Councillor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President, and Tom, thank you very much. I have to say, the last time that we made a push for this plan, I think it was done in too small of a group, behind too many closed doors. There wasn't enough input put into it. I don't think you were here at that point. So I'm glad to see you here. I really think that we need input from development, realtors, residents, and we really need to make this happen this time, because we have evidence here. Everyone hears affordability or low income, and they think that it's all the poorest of the poor, and it's going to run down the neighborhood, and it's not the truth. We got people making $70,000, $80,000 that can't afford to live in our city, and that's a problem. We need to fix that. We need a comprehensive plan, and thank you for putting this together. However I can help, let me know. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hess.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off, Tom and Lorena, thank you so much for your work on this. And Lorena, good luck. Thanks for all you did for the city. But I think this is a huge step in the right direction. There was a lot to unpack in the packet, but there was a lot of great stuff that we've never really touched on here before. And I think the disappearance of the starter home is probably one of the most troubling things I've seen the last few years. You take a young couple, a single person wants to move into Revere, like Councilor Silvestri said, makes 80 grand. They can't afford one of these houses that are up for 700 grand, 800 grand. Then you factor in housing for seniors, housing for veterans. We have a big issue here. It's throughout Massachusetts, but Revere has a huge issue trying to keep Revere people in Revere. And like you touched on, we're losing young people and young professionals every day. And if there's anything we can do to help or look at or add to this, feel free to let us know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Yaramio.
Tom, thank you so much for your commitment to this work. You, Claire, and the entire team over there. I also see Ms. Simmons from the planning board here as well. It's so important that we've done this work because Revere desperately needs workforce housing, and we are pricing out our own folks, right? I think you mentioned earlier how we are having folks drive from, driving through Revere to go into Boston, and how that creates traffic. Of course, the data supports that those longer trips are what create congestion, right? And if we're creating housing close to workplaces, then we can hopefully reduce that congestion on that front. Additionally, workforce housing is about keeping our community how we have it. Our grandchildren, our children are having to move out of this city because they can no longer afford to live here. So when folks talk about affordable housing, and we had developers here earlier, and councilors, particularly our ward councilors who have a lot of weight in on this, have conversations with developers about a project in their ward, and they're asking for affordable housing. They're not asking for a unit that's $1,000 for a 2-bedroom. They're asking for a reduction so that our community can stay together, because we are having a drain brain here. It is deeply tied to the housing crisis here in Massachusetts. And so this plan is such a glimmer of hope. And I'm so happy that we've gotten to work on this together, and I've been able to witness this, because we are losing not just our community, but we're also missing out on working families who want to stay here and grow a family here, but just can't afford it here. And we've prided ourselves of having generation after generation of Revere residents live here for a long time. We're losing that fabric because not everyone can afford a home, especially not when they're starting out. So I'm glad that this also helps address this. And we do need to keep communities together, even if they will never afford a home. And I think that a lot of the things that you mentioned today will be able to do that for workers and working families, right? Unfortunately, not everyone can make six-figure salaries, and they too deserve to live in this city. And so really hopeful that that this has been presented, and Godspeed on this. And I will motion again so that this goes to the Economic Development Committee, Mr. President.
Does anyone have any opposition to putting this into Economic Development Subcommittee?
I only because it has so much to do with zoning.
I agree with you, Councilor.
Thank you.
We take a vote.
So we have a motion on the floor to put this into the Economic Development Subcommittee. We're going to have to take a roll call on that.
To send the city's housing production plan to economic development, Councilor Agenzio?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hass?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Kelly?
No.
No, Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Zambudo? Absent, and Council President Cogliandro?
No.
No, the housing production plan will be sent to economic development.
Economic Development.
Calendar item number 22, communication from the Chief of Planning and Community Development relative to housing development zones.
Good evening, it's me again. I am going to be brief this time, I promise. So this is getting referred to a public hearing in December at a date which I'll defer to the city clerk on. But this is for the creation of a housing development incentive program zone, actually a few of them in the city. This is a tool specifically reserved for gateway cities to promote housing production. It's a two-tiered tool. The first tier is a tax increment exemption, often known as a TIF by many, that then unlocks what is really the most important tool, which is the state tax credit, up to $2 million for larger housing projects. So it's a critical piece of the puzzle for both with regard to Suffolk Downs, but also stimulating development in the two smart growth districts we approved just a year ago by this body. So we want to promote more smart growth in the right locations, and there's a good tool to help us do that. We'll talk more about it in December.
Thank you. This is going to a public hearing, and also we're going to refer this to zoning.
Calendar item number 23, communication from the mayor relative to the 2024 Toys for Tickets Amnesty Program.
Mayor, sorry, Director Babo, sorry.
Got a little shorter, sorry about that. Good evening, Council President, fellow councilors. I know it's been a long night, so I'll try to keep this brief. This is a program that the Parking Department has been doing for about 4 years now. Each year, we run an amnesty program where for about a month span, we collect a toy donation, and we take off about $30 in fees for a ticket. It's a great program. We've been running for about 4 years. Over the last year, we were able to donate over 200 toys to the Revere Public Schools. It helps make a difference in a young kid's life, and it helps for somebody who may have a parking violation this time of year. It helps them take off additional funds, allows us to provide somebody with a good Christmas. Happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Zach, thank you for putting this together. This is a great program, and I'll be glad to donate whatever you need.
Thank you. I'm happy the city had done this before. I had took one with the department. I love being a part of this each and every year. Christmas is a special time for me. Anything that we can do to help make somebody's Christmas very meaningful.
I think Councilor Guarino-Sawaya is just saying she has outstanding parking tickets, so.
No.
On the communication, all in favor, all opposed, so ordered.
Thank you.
Calendar item number 24, motion presented by Councilor Janino that the City Council award a certificate of merit to firefighter Louis J. Ivine in recognition of his retirement after 39 years of commendable public service at Central Fire Station, Ladder Company 2, protecting and serving the residents of the city of Revere.
Councilor Janino.
Just have a comment for the night of the citation. Firefighter Ivine spent 40 years on Broadway. Did a good job for the city.
Thank you, Councilor. All in favor, all opposed, so ordered.
Calendar item number 25, motion presented by Councilor Guarino-Sawaya that the mayor be requested to make arrangements with parking control or the police department to temporarily designate all parking spaces in front of the Paul Revere School as handicap parking spaces during elections to provide easier in-person voting access for disabled individuals.
Councilor Guarino-Sawaya.
It should read Traffic Commission, not Parking Control. I received a phone call during this past election of a woman who was wheelchair-bound, and she could not get into the Rivier, the Paul Revere School to go vote because there was no handicap parking outside. There's only, I guess, 2 spots, and the rest were taken by the people who were working the bake sale. And she said it just took her way too long to actually go in there and vote, and it kind of like makes her feel like she does not have that same opportunity that we all have to vote. So what I was thinking is perhaps doing all the spots that are in front of that Paul Revere School, all designated as handicapped just for election days. And I know we would have to go through the school department as well because it's school property. It would benefit all the voters that have disabilities. We would have to go through the ADA to make sure that it's ADA compliant and all that other stuff, temporary signage, whatever we can, wherever committee you think would be best to send this to. I would say traffic. I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Janino.
And I know in the past, we had situations similar to this here, and the city put up temporary signs. They were more or less non-enforceable to advise people that the spots were for handicapped people. I mean, we could possibly go to the Election Commission with the temporary signs again. I know the Wheeling School, the same problem. I had 4 spots up front, and the cars parked there, elderly people, handicapped people, they're parking down back, walking up. With the temporary signs, it says, they put them out front, it advised people, give the spot to somebody else, and moved on. And there's no rules being changed in it. It's just advisory.
Thank you, Councilor. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered. Quickly, I'd like to reconsider number 21, line item 21. It's been brought to my attention by the clerk that, 22 rather, that the city's housing production plan and the housing development zones need to go to the same subcommittee. So what I would like to do is either reconsider the vote to send it to economic development. That would be my recommendation because one of them is dealing with actual zoning changes. So they both have to go to the same subcommittee. We can't separate them. And I would defer to zoning issues. I don't want a zoning issue in economic development. That's just my 2 cents on it.
It's up to the council. It's 2 in the same thing, so it's either put both in economic development or both in zoning.
Right, that's the decision, where there was a roll call vote to do that. Where is, oh. That'll take forever to meet if we do a joint subcommittee.
Whatever meeting this would take place on December 16th, prior to the public hearing.
Right. We have an issue, Councilor Yaramio. I just wanted to, I'm glad you're back, Councilor McKenna. We're going back to the housing production plan and the housing development zones issues. They both have to go to the same subcommittee. They can't be separated.
You can, but if everything is to happen on the 16th.
Gotcha. So for timing purposes, they have to go to the same subcommittee. So the question is, do we send them both to economic development or do we send them both to zoning? And in my opinion, we cannot send zoning issues to another. We could do a joint.
Motion to do a joint committee.
So we will send both of these to a joint economic development and zoning subcommittee.
Mr. President,
Councilor.
I thought we went through this before, that we couldn't do joint subcommittees. That who chairs it? Who would?
We can, it's just timing-wise, it's. Okay, I'm making a decision. You guys can overrule me if you would like. We're gonna send this to the committee of the whole. Thank both of them. All in favor, all opposed?
Aye.
Calendar item number 26, motion presented by Councilor Guarino Sawaya, that the mayor request DCR to enhance safety and traffic control on Revere Beach Boulevard by implementing the following. 1, increase state police presence, requesting that the state police regularly patrol Revere Beach to help ensure public safety. 2, speed calming measures, implementing additional measures to reduce vehicle speeds, potentially including physical road design changes or signage adjustments. 3, blinking warning lights, installing blinking lights along Revere Beach to increase awareness and caution for drivers, especially at pedestrian crossings or areas with high foot traffic. And 4, additional speed limit signs, adding more speed limit signage to clearly indicate safe driving speeds and remind drivers to slow down as they approach the beach area.
Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Thank you, Mr. President. After meeting with several senior constituents who reside along Revere Beach, I would like to emphasize the urgent need to enhance the safety and traffic control measures along Revere Beach Boulevard. The traffic is horrific trying to get from one end of Rivier to the other end of Rivier. The community is really concerned about the safety and the speeding vehicles, as well as the pedestrians who are at risk. This must be addressed promptly, and I know the city of Rivier has very little to do with it, that it has to go to DCR. But I need them to come up in front of the council. I need some type of measure to be taken into consideration here. It's just to ensure the well-being of the residents and the visitors along Riviere Beach. And I've brought this up before, but again, nothing has been done. So whatever we can do as a council to get DCR to move their butt on this, honestly, this is what we need to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor. If you want someone to come before us, we would have to word it in the motion that way. So instead, maybe, do you want to modify it, or?
That we request, we can modify it by saying that we request DCR to come in front of the council to address the concerns of the residents along Rivier Beach Boulevard.
You want to take the rest of the language out?
No, you can leave it all in.
So then that the mayor requests DCR to appear before the council and to enhance safety and traffic, et cetera? Okay. Let me know. On the motion as amended, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 27, motion presented by Councilor Guarino Sawaya, that the mayor request the DCR or DPW to assess and, if necessary, remove the brush and other combustible vegetation from the area directly behind 350 Revere Beach Boulevard to mitigate fire risk. Further, that the DCR or DPW be requested to implement a regular maintenance schedule for this area to prevent future buildup of brush and ensure ongoing safety for residents in this area.
Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Following a meeting with residents of St. George, this has been a really big concern to them this whole year. They said that years ago, last year, the year before, years before that, the city always took care of the brush behind St. George. I'm not sure if it belongs to the city or to DCR. I need some type of mitigation work to be done on this to find out who actually does the cleanup behind there, but the brush is very high. They did send me some pictures from behind the house so I can look at it, and something needs to be done in order to help them. They're afraid of the rodents, and they're also afraid of fires. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKenna.
I just want to give some history that Donnie Chamella, about 3 or 4 years ago, got goats to come in and eat, and they did a great job, the goats. But it was a lot of work for him, I know. They had to get a trailer, but the goats did eat that whole parcel within a week. So, thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed?
Calendar item number 28, motion presented by Council President Cogliandro, that the mayor request the city planner to draft a zoning ordinance establishing food truck use by right in the HB district by establishing zoning regulations and minimum requirements for this use. Food truck operators would be able to apply to the License Commission, subject to review by the Site Plan Review Committee, to operate a food truck on private property within the HB district.
Permission to speak from the chair. I think that there are some areas in the city that are located in the HB district that would be utilized for something like a food truck area. Specifically for me, I'm thinking about the old Sozio lot in Revere. I would love to see multiple food trucks in there to just give it some sort of look, because it is so ugly, and I have no idea what the property owners are doing with that property. It is just, it's been wide open since the fire. We all remember the fire. I would love to see something go there instead of it be sold to the highest bidder for now. I mean, that's my 2 cents. Anyone else? Councilor Silvestri?
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, they have that exact idea in Middleton. It's a really cool place. It's got a lot of food trucks, of all different things, barbecue, seafood, a little play area for children. It's like a drive-in food truck area, so I love the idea.
And by making it an ordinance, we'll have the opportunity to craft how many and whatnot. So, anyone else on the motion? Councilor Yaramia.
No, I was going to say this was a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed?
Calendar item number 29, motion presented by Council President Cogliandro, that the mayor investigate additional ways to communicate with our senior citizens about the senior water discount applications and yearly renewal periods. Many seniors were unaware they needed to reapply or apply by a certain date.
Permission to speak from the chair. This was brought about by receiving multiple phone calls from seniors that did not have an opportunity to learn about the water rate discount or the application process. Specifically, one resident who is in and out of the hospital for treatment that I felt very badly for. And I've talked to the mayor about this, and they are gonna, I know that they do have a lot of communication about this. They have put it in the paper, it's been posted, but the mayor said they are going to investigate ways to reach out to more of the senior citizens in regard to this. Any other councilors? Sir, name and address for the record, please.
Tom Trainer, Business Manager, DPW, 319 Charger Street. Council, the program is the water discount program for the seniors, which is an outstanding program. We put out advertisement and let people know in the Journal, in our websites, DPW website, as well as on local TV. We have flyers down at the Senior Center. We have flyers in City Hall. So any input, anything from the council, from anyone to better this way to communicate to the seniors, because it's a great program for the seniors. It runs from March 1st to September 1st. You do have to apply in person. And one of the things, Council, that you did mention, that there was confusion. If the seniors do have to apply in person, they do. And then another thing was, do they have to apply every year? And yes, they do. And what the confusion on that second piece was, there was a program with the assessor's office where whether it was a credit or some tax relief, where that group of names were automatically pushed to the water sewer department, and then they automatically were put in if they were eligible for the discount. So maybe that's where that came from with applying, that we would have their names automatically the next year. But as it stands now, March 1st to September 1st, you have to be 65 or older by the time the calendar year expires. Let me see, look at some of my notes here. This year we did process and approve 1,006 applicants. And part of the reason, not to go here, there, I know you want me to be brief. But part of the reason we don't want to refuse anyone, we don't want to push anyone away, is the timing of it. It's always after September 1st, and we've had people come October 1st, but we have to process these, and it takes a while for the staff to process them, and then they have to be represented on the third quarter water bill, and that's where the discount would show. So that's the part that, I know I threw a lot out there, but it's March 1st to September 1st, and 65 or older. You do have to apply in person. And as far as our, advertising for the program, any input is welcome.
May I ask a couple of questions? Where do they have to apply? Where do they physically go?
I'm sorry, in person, 319 Charger Street.
So the DPW
At the
building?
new DPW, yeah.
They can get their applications anywhere or online.
And are there any reasons other than age that someone would be denied this program?
No, because, if you're not owner occupied in the building, I shouldn't have said no so quickly. You have to owner occupy in the building, and the building has to be a single, a double, or three family. So anything larger than that, you wouldn't be covered. But the minimum is 10% discount for consumption over 70,000 gallons, so.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is there a salary fee that you have to, a certain amount of money that you can't qualify for this? I know.
No.
Okay.
It's all based on consumption.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Guarino-Sawaya.
Just have a quick question. Is this inserted in their water bill? Is there like an insert in the water bill sent out to the residents?
Not at this time.
Well, I think that would be a good idea. So whenever the water bill comes out, a step-by-step insert to let everybody know how they can apply, and that is, it's a yearly thing.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Hass.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tom, Debbie, thanks so much for being here. I've seen the ads, the TV spots. The only thing I can think of other than what Councilor Guarino-Sawaya had mentioned is maybe have an information seminar at the senior center, maybe once or twice, before the program kicks off. And that's something I know, Debbie, you've done before with the assessor's office and things like that, but maybe that could be another way to reach the seniors. Thank you.
I agree with you, and because you've been there, we've invited them to come. The other problem, councilors, is that obviously we have the Tom with Water, we have the assessors department, and we have the senior work-off abatement. So there's a bunch of programs, it's different ages, it's different qualifications, and we try to get them out to the seniors. But I love that idea of putting in the tax, the water bill. We're trying. Listen, we love our seniors.
Well, listen, I sincerely...
Mr. President?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Councilor Argenzio.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Trainer and Deb. One of the things, if you can improve upon, I know when they do get this rebate and they get their bill, it's really not in black and white on the bill where that, if the discount happened. So I know there was a lot of confusion. The discounts were given out this last bill, but seniors don't see it in black and white on that bill. So if maybe a improvement on the billing system so they can see, I saved $80, I saved $100. You have to do a lot of math to figure out if you got this rebate or not. So maybe if that could be improved.
Yeah, this past billing cycle, we actually had a problem with the print. And that's something that we'll deal with internally, but you're absolutely right. There was nothing on there, but that was a printing issue. We were aware of that. And going forward, we understood that we got a lot of phone calls because of the confusion. No one wants to pick up their water bill and wonder if they got something. And so, yeah, we understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors? And I just want to thank both of you for coming. I didn't know you were coming. I really appreciate that. And I just want to state that I do know that we do a lot of outreach, but our seniors are still, they're not looking into it, so we got to be creative. And if it comes down to me hand delivering things to my Ward 3 residents, you guys know I will. So on the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 30, motion presented by Councilor Novoselsky, that the Revere City Council present certificates of appreciation to the following individuals for their upkeep and continuous maintenance of Rumney Marsh burying grounds for the past several years. Bill Reedy, Tom Sullivan, Tony Capaccia, and Lenny Bonasoro.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, these guys do a great job, and I'll hold off most of my comments until the presentation. Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 31, motion presented by Councilors Silvestri and Novoselsky, that the City Council adopt a section of the HEROES Act which allows municipalities to double the property tax abatement for disabled veterans.
Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. And in discussing this with the clerk, I found out that the mayor's office has already accepted and has approved the doubling of this, where I would like to put in a substitute motion by both Silvestri and Novoselsky that the City Council accept MGL Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 221, which would adjust the veterans' exemptions amounts annually based on the increase in the cost of living as determined by the Consumer Price Index for each year.
Councilor Novoselsky, did you want to say anything?
No, that covers it. Thank you.
Okay, so I think because the city's doing this, we're just going to place this on file, Councilor Silvestri?
Yep.
Place on file.
And then the substitute motion.
So let's vote on the substitute motion. All in favor, all opposed?
Aye.
So ordered. Place on file.
Can I take a moment of personal privilege?
No, you can do it at the end of the meeting,
We
Councilor.
got one.
Debbie,
Yeah.
Calendar item number 32, motion presented by Councilors Silvestri and Novoselsky that the mayor request the Veterans Service Office to provide an informational document and host an evening for veterans and their families for the purpose of explaining all the details and benefits of the HEROES Act, the most comprehensive veterans bill signed into law in the history of Massachusetts.
Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, there are just so much in this comprehensive legislation, things that are so much more for veterans, small businesses hiring a veteran that's in low income, it's $2,500 tax credit. So I think a evening that brings the community together, that really explains the intricacies of this legislation would really help. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I agree with Councilor Silvestri, and I want to thank him for including me on these things. And everybody knows that veterans are both of our hearts, and we want to do anything we can to make things good for them. So I thank you, and let's move on.
Thank you, Councilor. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So voted.
May I take a moment of personal privilege?
I think we should take a roll call on that. No. Councilor Guarino-Sawaya.
I would just like to wish everyone in the city of Revere a very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
With that said, there is no further business. The next meeting is December 9th. Have a great night, everybody.